Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this talk. I'm Ioannis, Stavrakantonakis. I'm Director of Platform Engineering, building together with a great team the on-premise solution of Ververica. And this talk is focusing on the Apache Flink Management Platforms and how are they enabling the AI stack. Let's get started. So, coming from a semantic web background, when I was doing my PhD back in 2012, agents were all around the place, but they were not able to really work for some reasons. And 25 years ago from today, actually, it was written in an IEEE article that the agents cannot make it actually to reality because of the difficulty to understand data. And guess what? The pieces getting together finally due to LLMs and data understanding that we have these days. So actually we're living in the future that was envisioned a few years ago. Cool. Let's jump back to Flink now, right? I'm gonna start from introducing you why do we need platforms to start with, and then get you to the point where how do we integrate them in the tech stack and the AI stack, actually, right? So going towards the Flink, when you have Flink jobs and Flink clusters, at some point you may have more of them, so it gets out of hand how to manage them, where you get to the point where you need a platform to manage all those. And you want a platform to manage the Flink clusters and Flink itself for a couple of reasons. From the abundance of the jobs that you're running, but also the different features that the platforms provide you, enterprise features, data lineage, or any of that interesting features that organizations need nowadays. Another reasons could be tailor-made solutions to the use cases of the organizations. Or at the end of the day, proprietary Flink engines, like, for example, the presentation that we had, the announcement in the morning about VeraX, and other engines that other vendors may have developed through the years. All right, then it comes to the questions, why to manage a Flink management platform, right? So you have a platform to manage Flink, but then at the end of the day, you need this platform also integrated within your tech stack for good reasons. One is basically you take data and distill it through data pipelines, integrations to make decisions. That means the platform should be connected itself with different modules in your pipelines, right? Either could be IAML these days, could be CI/CD, business intelligence, processes, or even simply operational excellence on top of your streaming platforms, right, and streaming use cases. Now, looking at Flink itself and how does it integrate, which is the starting point on going towards the integration on the platform side as well. Flink itself provides obviously a UI where the users can look into job managers, task manager, memory allocations, logs, and the healthiness of the jobs. But always that is never enough for advanced use cases and more sophisticated operational excellence on top of it. So then there are REST APIs from Flink itself, which allows to manage and spin off jobs or stop and monitor. And at the same time, there's the Flink Kubernetes operator for reconciliation of custom resources on the cluster. The platforms itself, at the same time, they cannot fall behind that, right? So itself has a REST API to manage the platform and the jobs on the platform and the deployments. And there is a Kubernetes operator always for the same reasons, to reconciliate the custom resources on the Kubernetes cluster and have a seamless experience across your clusters. At the same time, a UI is always something that organizational users look into because it's a visual way to look into the state of the jobs or look into different metadata on the management of the platform itself that could be interesting for them. And beyond that, beyond the platform UI, there is always the possibility that somebody jumps on the Flink UI that Flink provides itself. All right, let's start moving now towards the AI stack, actually, right? So Flink now, Flink is an enabler for real-time AI, and that's what is basically in all around the talks these days for various reasons, right? So one being the data ingestion mechanism, and for future computation in real time, for training or inference, models retraining, etc. But beyond that, Flink has started coming closer, at least on the SQL side and the SQL queries with ML Predict, right? To be able to use models straight from that functionality. So Flink is starting getting integrated for real in the AI stack. Beyond that, beyond the AI pipelines, you saw the announcement in the morning about the Flink agents. So from AI enabler, it's becoming a fundamental part of the AI layer in the organizations. And Flink agents, basically, they build on top of the different good features that Flink is giving in terms of the state, the resilience, and all the observability on top of it. And it's extending Flink by adding the semantics to be able to talk with the different artifacts that Flink agents are needing in order to bring together LLMs and prompting there. It's adding also the integration with MCP. It's implementing the MCP protocol. So one could actually, with the Flink agents, be able to interact with MCP servers, right? Which is from where we look into now to the next piece, and how does it come to enable the platforms in this picture. So stepping quickly back to the MCP, because we're talking a bit about it, but let me quickly introduce you brief about it. So the model context protocol, it has a few building blocks. Basically, what it's providing is providing a protocol where it becomes a standard on how to talk with LLMs and tools. So it solves a big problem that's always in this kind of new systems and new integrations that massively get developed, is the end-to-end integration, right? So without this protocol, we would actually need each LLM to have the function calling towards each API, and that gives you an abundance of models you have to integrate with another abundance of APIs, right? So basically, the introduction of the protocol from Anthropic is solving this problem early on, so it can enable all the stakeholders to build their business cases on top of LLMs and start getting closer to the Agentic AI, as it's called, and I think it's not on the hype anymore. I think it's on the productivity plateau, actually, because this is really happening. And people have started actually making sense out of it and integrating in their pipelines and their systems. So one is industry standard for agents. That's we got it. It's empowering agents for decision making and taking actions. What's the building blocks there? So given that it's a standard, the client part of it actually is what the agentic frameworks need to implement, right? So that's done once, and that's taken care on the MCP host side, on the agent. So that's out of the implementation scope for any platform or any tooling that needs to enable itself in this layer, right? Then it's the MCP server, which is on the side of the tooling. And basically here, you can think about it as a wrapper of the API, or not a wrapper, but mappings between what the API can do and expose it basically in a way that the MCP client can make sense out of it and can use anything behind the tool API through it, right? Now, taking a pause here to say something about this enablement, basically, right? So, with these tiny artifacts, risks come also in the game, right? So we are introducing risks there because the surface of the organization is increasing, right? So till now we had an API, and now we have yet another layer that is basically a wrapper of the API, and that can be exploited for many reasons, which is just a whole other talk about that, right? So basically, what we need to be cautious about is which MCP servers are we integrating with our pipelines and in our organizations. Otherwise, the MCP server could also lead to data leak or manipulation on the side of the tool for any purposes, right? That said, and I think there are a lot of articles already that organizations shouldn't really piggyback on unknown sources that have developed MCP servers, but actually try to stick to the official vendors and official sources for them. So if there is a tool A that's developed by vendor A, it's better to use their MCP, even if it's not that rich in features compared to some random unknown source, or build ourselves one, because it's actually, given that we have access to the API, anybody can build an MCP service themselves. They don't need to wait for the vendor, but that also gets all the different drawbacks of maintainability, etc., etc. Given that, let's move on what does it mean for Flink Management Platforms and also the Ververica platform that we are supporting and we're building. That means that the platform that is used to manage Flink clusters and Flink jobs, it's already enabled by having an MCP server on top of the API. It's enabling the AI stack, and it takes that part for the platform to be integratable, basically, right? Then agents are empowered to make decisions, similarly like what I explained before, lowers the operational overhead, because the agent itself, if it's towards the operation, if it's like an ops agent, then it can make decisions given the context, to stop jobs, to start new jobs. It could even enable seamless integration with different use cases. It could spin off jobs with SQL queries that it may find out that it makes sense and it needs new SQL Flink jobs, right? All that kind of stuff is on the creativity side of the agent and the user of this, which enables the platform with an MCP server, actually. All right, that said, what does it mean in the integration the stack having the MCP server, actually? It means that one could already operate a platform from an IDE, because IDEs these days are well integrated with even with Claude, with the different tools that actually they run MCP clients. So one can already do that, which gives a seamless experience for developers, and also for with any AI tooling like Claude, for example, right? Here I have also Flink agents, because Flink agents is one of these frameworks, and I think all the agentic frameworks do that. Otherwise, they will not be capable to go to the full potential. They have the integration with MCP servers, right? So that said, those building blocks click together pretty well to enable us in the agentic landscape. All right, some usages that we could have on some examples here that I have about the Ververica MCP server that we're putting together. You could list your namespaces, you could list your deployments, you can, from the operational overhead that you can lower, you can already get the unhealthy deployments for any region in specific namespaces or in generally, and make actions on top of that. That said, also, it's important to understand that here we're talking also on the scope of the access of the agent, right? So depending who is running the agent, they're based on different authorization scopes. So not all agents have access to have creation and deletion of jobs, but also some of them can be could have only read access, right? So that's another very important part. What kind of authorization do we have for the scope that the agent is deployed actually? For example, if somebody has an ops agent that is taking care only about the observability and the information about the healthiness of the platform, that could also stick to that scope and not be able to see deployments of namespaces that have sensitive data, like organizations from the banking sector, right? So taking authentication authorization at the right level and having a trustworthy MCP server to enable our use case in the AI stack is really an important dimension of how you integrate your tooling in the AI stack, and it's not an afterthought. It has to be in the design of your solutions. Otherwise, the risk that it's opening up doesn't worth, at least for organizations that are very cautious about security. That said, all this you would be able to run it through any interface, as I said before. And going towards, to summarize the talk, basically, one takeaway thought is that we have standards and protocols which basically we just have to follow it in order to have reliable and seamless AI integrations. And to combine basically MCP servers to empower operation and augment business impact at real time is getting there when we trust the servers from the vendors themselves that they develop the tooling. The last thought to take with you that could explain what an MCP server is doing simply is encapsulating the API integrations complexity, and it doesn't only enable the agentic AI, but also enables the operators of the platforms to easily understand and get their hands on managing the platform itself. Stay tuned for our release on that. We basically follow a path of keeping parity in features between our API, our CLI, and MCP server, and that's very important also for having a seamless integration and easy adoption of it by the users of the platform. Thank you very much. That's from my side.
Thank you, Ioannis. We have time for some questions. Questions in the audience? I have a question. At this point, can you, let's say you're working in Cursor, can you describe your SQL query and then have the MCP server say deploy it already? Is that one of the intended purposes? You said you can work in your IDE, but maybe if someone doesn't know SQL, but they want to try and query something, can they just describe that SQL query?
Exactly. I mean, that's what I was pointing out in the agent side. So basically, the agent itself could come up with SQL queries that would make sense for the business case of the customer, and then use the platform to submit a deployment on SQL in order to get data out of it. And if you think about that, that's the holy grail. I think that's what everybody's looking for. And the enabler is there. What I think it's to be developed is the framework on how the agent could make decisions safely and with the right results for us, basically. Yeah.
And it could be much part of a much larger agent workflow.
Exactly, yeah. And you can go wild as well, right? So you could have, like with the Flink Gates, you have MCP, right? So you could have different instances of the platform. You could have one platform that runs on a staging environment and a production environment, or different environments in different continents. I don't know, anything.
Or MCP servers to basically all of your databases across your company, and the agent has access to all of them. And Flink would just be one of the data sources that you could write SQL queries for.
Thanks.
Any questions from the audience? Oh, okay.
Thanks. Hi. My question is regarding the security aspects. So, for example, I saw some pretty destructive, I would say, commands that you can do. Do you take care on like your side of the MCP server side, or is something that we need to take care of?
Exactly. That's what I pointed out, that in order to have an MCP server running, and specifically those that run locally, you need really to trust what it's doing, which means like either you build it yourself so you know what is behind, so how does it use the API of the tool, because it depends really on the authorization that the API has as well, right? Because there is an authentication part, right? So if the authentication is enabled to edit and update and create artifacts on the tool side, on the platform side, then it's very important that you are really sure what it's doing, the MCP. If it's read-only, then things are a little bit less risky, right? You just extract info, but still there's data leak risk there, even if it's only read-only. That's why I said like it's better to use an MCP server that comes from the vendor that provides the platform, the tool, whatever that tool is, to you, rather than use an MCP server that is from an unknown source. And I think there was a few months ago, there was an article about that. There were GitHub repos with MCP servers that could go wild with APIs integration, but actually they were looking into malware and data leak purposes, right? So it's an enabler, and as an enabler, it's a target for all those to go into organization with backdoors, right? So better stick to the vendor ones that it takes care of the authentication, authorization the right way, and you have also the support from them on this. Thanks.
Did you have a follow-up question? Yeah, you did. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. And what about, let's say I take a command, but the LLM decides to call the tool, right? So it's not always on the MCP server side. So if I create a job, it may create 100 jobs, for example.
I mean, that's also on how it's implemented. So if we want to play safe, we can have it actually to ask us about its action. So it recommends an action, and then we have to commit to it. And then on the other side, on the agent side, whatever logic and business logic we implement on the agent side, we make sure that it's aligned to the framework that we want to operate. So the MCP server itself, it's an enabler, right? And then it comes to the point, how do we contain the actions of the agent, right? So then the control part is basically on the agent side, and how we want it to operate. Yeah, it's not on the tool and the API at the end of the day. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
That's a very good point.
I think you can add a human in the workflow.
Exactly.
And have output maybe the request, but not actually execute till somebody okays it. Any other questions from the audience? If not, thank you, Ioannis.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys, for joining.